Hey, before we start the show, just wanted to let you know that No Inner Monologue is available on all your favorite podcast providers. And now on YouTube. Don't forget to check us out on social media at No Inner Pod on Instagram and Twitter, and No Inner Monologue on Facebook. Now, enjoy the show. Previously on No Inner Monologue.
I've learned that.
Honest,
what's the name of that alien guy from Men in Black? What was it? That you said
You're Vincent D'Onofrio. I don't remember his name.
I've learned
He's
that.
just the bug.
I've learned them both Vincent D'Onofrio and the Trump.
From the 7-ish Studios in Mississauga, Ontario, it's the No Inner Monologue podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 92 of the No Inner Monologue podcast. I am Dwayne Norona. With me is Joey Mangione.
Hey!
Creepy Uncle Manny.
The creepiest of uncles.
Certified uncle.
Yes, he took a course and everything.
He took a course. He's the only one he's ever finished. And guest host for the day, David Edwards.
Hello, everybody.
Oh,
shit. That's some sultry, sexy, smooth shit.
It's straight up moved when you talk to him.
It's my sexy black guy voice.
Did you say white guy voice?
No, I said black guy.
Okay.
I hope so. It works. It works.
Now I'm thinking of that. I think it was a Mad TV skit where it. No, it was. There was a
black person on it, so it probably was Mad TV.
It was an SNL. It was an SNL skit where they had a bunch of black guys. They were talking differently, and then all of a sudden they get a phone call on the phone, and they just change their voice completely.
That's everybody, though.
I think that was Thank You for Calling or whatever that movie was called.
That's everybody. They even do that joke in what's it called? Always Be My Maybe with Ali Wong. Don't use your phone voice with me.
I don't have me working in a call center. I don't have a different
yes, you
type of
do.
voice.
You do.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do. I've heard
really
you on the phone when talking to customers. You sound completely different.
You have a phone voice.
Yeah.
Do I sound like a jackass?
No. That you change it so that people don't listen to your regular jackass.
No. I'm asking that question in general.
Oh no,
Fuck, dude. Have you not heard this podcast? We tell you that every week.
Listen to the show. I realize that's a loaded thing to ask him, so let's not continue.
I know it's tough.
Giving up an hour of your day.
So speaking of tough, I'm doing great.
No one asked you.
I look, Dave's like, no one cares.
Dave has seamlessly joined the podcast.
Dave knows what we're all about.
All right, Dave, what have you been up to since the last time we spoke to you?
Just working, surviving, living. Trying to start my own podcast.
Ooh,
yeah.
What's going on there?
Trying to get the people together.
The people.
The people.
What do you mean, the people?
Just
all the ones who love The Rock.
Hold on. What do you mean, the people?
Don't put me on the spot like that. Don't put me on the spot like that.
What's your podcast going to be about?
I'm trying to bring back my old podcast called Fighters Corner.
Okay.
So we're talking about fighting games.
UFC
and stuff like
podcast?
No.
MMA related. Boxing, MMA.
Is it wrestling? Street fighting? Just talking about old videos of
cockfighting.
Oh man.
So yeah, my friend Alvaro's helping me get that together.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, bringing back Jamal and all those guys. So
nice.
Yeah.
Oh,
It'd be nice to see those guys again.
Yeah, man. Well, we're going to do it like through either Discord or Google Hangout because
is Hangout still a thing?
Yeah, people still use it.
Okay.
Because I have a lot of friends who live like in the States and stuff, and I told them about it, and they want to be part of it. So
nice.
Yeah. So
now I have a question for you. What's it like to have friends? Because obviously I get 2 angry people at me every week.
2. Tasha's here sometimes.
Yeah.
That's 3.
Yeah.
Dave showed up today and like a minute into it.
As 4?
Every week it's like a boxing glove arrow to the face.
See, that's why we're friends. We use boxing gloves.
Yeah.
People who don't like you would go full bare fist.
Some people might use
and Dave will report
brass knuckles.
And that's what Dave's here to report on in his Fighters Corner.
So today on Fighters Corner, Manny got punched in the face.
When do you know when that's gonna your first episode is gonna drop? Or
I'm going to try to record on November.
Okay.
Like probably around the end of November. If not, January for sure.
All
All
right,
right,
cool.
that's
Sweet.
pretty cool,
We'll
man.
come
Yeah.
back on here when you're
When
you're
it's
about to
up.
start, and
Yeah.
then you'll promote it to us
Yeah.
and the one other person who
And
listens to
our
it.
5 other listeners.
Yes. Okay, so Manny brought us together today to talk about something.
Called this meeting to
Yeah,
arms.
he didn't actually tell us what it was, so
He kind of did.
I
I'll
don't
give
know.
him that credit. He did kind of tell us what he wanted to talk about, but
See?
when we ask him to elaborate,
he's not entirely sure.
He doesn't elaborate.
Okay,
well.
so Manny, elaborate. What are we here for? Well, tell our audience what you're here. What we're here
elaborate
for.
means to explain.
Yeah, fuck you guys.
I was nice to you, you dick.
Well, this is a great episode. I guess I'll be leaving now.
I'm honestly hoping for a good Christmas gift. I know being mean to Manny gets me one of those. So.
No. He's still going up trying to get that dinner with Buffon.
Yeah.
I'm trying so hard.
Yeah, I know.
Well, if you go to dinner with him, you'll have a dinner with a buffoon.
That's close enough, I guess. Been to movies with him, so that counts, I guess. So, anyways, elaborate, man.
Speaking of movies, I actually brought you. First of all, Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Happy
The happiest of
Halloween.
Halloweens.
Yes. We, in the spirit of Halloween,
Oh, Jesus
I
Christ.
figured
Oh, no.
we talk about horror movies.
Okay.
Okay.
I like where this is
And-
going already.
And let's just talk about the different horror movies. I personally want to talk about the Universal horror movies, the old the 30s ones like Dracula,
From
the
like
Wolfman.
1931 and
Yeah.
Frankenstein and all that stuff, right?
Yes, Frankenstein, The Invisible Man, shit,
The Black Lagoon.
the Black Lagoon.
The creature from the Black Lagoon.
The creature from the Black Lagoon, my bad.
Yeah, The Mummy.
The blackest of lagoons.
That's the sequel. The creature is from the blackest
or
lagoon.
is that just the blaxploitation film?
Yeah.
I think they remade that and called it Vampire in Brooklyn.
Creature comes out of the lagoon. It's got a massive afro. It drives away in a pitmobile.
Suppose.
All right,
You saw Gwen's costume yesterday? Kind of.
I'll post it online.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
good. It was good.
Oh yeah, we had a Halloween party here on
I know.
Saturday night.
And I would like
We had a Halloween party. We don't live
Fine,
here.
Fine. Joe hosted a Halloween party.
with his roommates.
Joe, producer Brock, and scared of squirrel Daryl.
It was a chipmunk. Get it
Chipmunk,
right.
sorry.
That chipmunk terrorized us for days.
That was funny, man.
Terrorized? I think it's still terrorizing.
Oh, probably.
That's your own horror movie. It's got a little camera on it, and it's just following Daryl around doing jump
What are you
scares.
talking about? The movie is from the chipmunk's point of view. They're the horror movie people.
Yeah.
Guy
They're
moves
the
in,
bad guys.
Chipmunk moves into a new neighborhood, thinks he's fine. It's a nice white neighborhood. Then all of a sudden, these fucking monsters are chasing him around all day.
He came
you just
over with.
describe the plot to Get Out? I mean,
Yeah,
just in chipmunk form?
yeah, pretty much.
I don't know.
The moral of the story is always white people are bad.
I don't know.
Sounds
if Peel,
about right.
I don't know if Peel will be happy or sad with that remake of his film.
I think
Because
he'd
on
be-
one front, he's a serious filmmaker, but he's also a comedian.
Yeah.
So I don't know how he would take
This
that.
is like a weird mashup of Keanu and Get Out.
It'd be like the chipmunks version of Get Out, right?
Yeah. All right, so
So continue, Manny.
Oh man, a horror remake of Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. Holy shit!
all right, I'm drawing that.
That's the
better.
image. That's the image.
You better
Did
draw
you-
it.
Dale
you
is
hear
sitting
about-
on the chair, and Gadget's the
With
like
the
the
teacup?
mom.
With the
Yeah,
teacup?
yeah.
Oh, God.
Gadget's the mom. Monterey Jack is like the muscle guy.
Dave, you might be better at drawing this than I
I may give it a shot.
You're gonna have to now.
am. Okay, so
Getting back on topic.
well, let's talk about current movies like the ones from the 30s.
Do you think this is something I came up
Like the
with?
fucking
You know?
the wealth of horror movies that we could talk about currently, and you decided 1930s is the perfect place for this.
Yes, because that's when shit was fresh and scary. How many times have you seen a vampire on screen?
I don't know.
Well,
I
every
watch
time-
True Blood, so all the
Yeah,
time.
there you go.
I love True Blood.
You just love it because it showed boobs.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why you loved it.
Yeah.
Oh no, I know. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And Sarsgaard.
Yes, yes,
Skarsgård.
I'm Skarsgård. He's amazing.
Yeah.
And his brother Pennywise.
I think he'd be a good replacement if Chris Hemsworth would walk away from Thor. I think he'd be good.
I don't know if he's beefy enough.
He's Scandinavian.
That shouldn't just be the only thing.
It's called.
Neither is Hemsworth. Like, Hemsworth isn't Scandinavian.
I know he's Australian.
They don't just show up to Iceland and be like, you're Thor now.
I think.
Also, they already got a new Thor, and her name is Natalie Portman.
That's true.
Yeah.
She's not Scandinavian.
I think we all just took a minute there.
Are we just picturing her as Thor?
Oh, no, we're picturing her in all the different ones that did it for us.
Oh, there's that too.
Yeah.
You ever see her in Closer? Wow. This took a turn. Let's continue.
We're gonna edit that one out.
I have to.
So,
Okay, so let's talk.
Universal I want to talk about Dracula. Count Dracula. So,
Specifically Dracula.
see what I did there? The 1930s version of it is when he talked like this.
What did you do?
Ah.
I did not see.
Ooh.
Is he fucking Italian? What the hell?
You're such. You took way too much joy in that.
It's just Chef
What is your
with
point?
Mafia Dracula. Hey yo, wee.
Where's my blood?
Hey yo. I ordered this blood like 30 days ago. Hey yo.
He hits up different
Got a bad
restaurants.
Brooklyn accent for some reason.
Yeah,
Dave's only seen Vampire in Brooklyn.
yeah, that's the only one I've seen. To me, vampires are black.
Well, that works. So Manny,
Oh fuck! That could have been your costume yesterday.
Could've.
Dave came in with the cheapest costume ever, but it worked. He bought the best vampire thing I've ever seen anybody have.
Why wouldn't he
really
just put
good
on
vampire
sunglasses and
Thank
be
you.
Blade?
Oh yeah, that could have also.
why
worked.
would he have to be Blade?
No, but he could have been Blade.
Why can't he just be Dave as a vampire?
That's not a costume. That's just Dave.
Yeah,
That's a vampire.
that's what Dave was going for.
I got
Vampire
bitten
Dave.
on the way here.
You didn't
So Manny,
make any
what
stops?
Why? I have to ask. Why specifically the 1930 version, the 1931 version of Dracula? What is it about that one that you love?
It was the only one available on this streaming site he was trying to watch.
No.
It spoke to him.
So a couple things. Because I love the fact that, and this was some information that every vampire that after that, has been based on Bela Lugosi's accent. Now, Joe mentioned earlier before that Bela Lugosi, the Dracula is from Transylvania, which is in Hungary. In Hungary, right? So either way, he probably would have had that accent, but it's the way that Lugosi delivered it. It was so iconic, like I am Count Dracula. See, that line right there is infamous. That is probably it's up there with like I'll be back or other famous movie lines. And just to
Really did your research there, right?
no, seriously. No,
See, to
And-
me though, like the Dracula I know is Gary Oldman from Bram Stoker's Dracula from 1992.
yeah, that was my first.
Exactly.
who'd
that's
you
it.
say?
Gary Oldman,
Yeah.
Gary Oldman? Okay.
Commissioner
I thought-
Gordon.
I thought you were talking about Christopher Lee because he's in the Hammer ones. Sorry.
Who? Christopher Lee.
I have not seen any of the Christopher Lee or the Bela Lugosi versions of Dracula. I'm going to start with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is odd for me to say, considering, A, I'm a big movie buff, and B, from listening to this podcast, people will know I seem to be a time traveler. But
Not
Or
in the
you're
80s,
just
though.
an old man.
or that.
You just miss when America was great.
No, that's been well.
Yeah, Manuel says it.
I just want to wear fedoras and not be considered a dork. That's all I want.
I believe the term is neckbeard.
The version directed by Francis Ford Coppola,
Right.
where Keanu Reeves has that horrendous British accent that he goes in and out of throughout the entire movie.
Whoa.
Kind of.
You just did Keanu Reeves going into Joey Lawrence. You didn't do a British or American accent. Whoa. It's like the ghost of Joey Lawrence leaving the body of Keanu Reeves.
Well, they did have the same catchphrase for a while, but
That's funny.
but yeah, that's my version, like what I know of to be Dracula.
Right.
Which
kind of funny to think. Like, that movie came out in 92, you said?
yeah,
And Interview with a Vampire came out, like, what, 94-ish?
I think
Like
so.
93,
Let me
Right?
check it out for you.
93.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Like, that's a very, it's
Is
not-
Interview with the Vampire considered a horror movie?
I don't know. Maybe?
Not exactly.
Maybe?
It has obviously horror elements because it is about vampires.
It's just Memoirs of a Geisha, but with vampires.
I think it's funny though, but it is nuts though to think though that character, that Dracula character, it's just, you can take it and make so many different things with it. Like, it's a really interesting character to flush out.
Well,
Sometimes you can make garbage movies with it, but then, like, you think about it, you've got all the different versions of Dracula. You've got
The video games.
well, not even. No, I'm just talking about like in print and,
well,
and
every
television,
single
right?
like new version, because like you said, they flesh it out differently or whatever.
Yeah.
But it seems like specifically with vampires and vampire movies, they sort of change the lore of what they're vulnerable to,
Yeah.
or what their super strengths are, and
Right.
all this other stuff. Right? I mean, for the longest
Don't
time,
you go into Twilight?
We weren't going to, but
but now you brought it up, so now you have to talk about Twilight.
so you've seen all 3 movies in theaters. What are you
I
talking
have
about?
yet to see a Twilight movie.
But he has?
It's more than 3.
See?
Wow, he
See,
knows.
He knows.
I
He's
needed
Twilight
to
fan.
finish the story, okay?
Why do you
you
need
know-
to finish it?
I needed
You
to.
can't finish a
I
story on
started
this
it-
podcast. How the hell did you manage to watch 4 movies?
I don't know. I just
He
watched
stared
it.
at his phone the whole time, so he
No.
he was on brand. But why? What possessed you to go see the Twilight movies?
Shirtless
At first-
17-year-old boy.
Wow. And on that note, I'm out.
Okay, no. What did you go see Twilight for?
You know what? I watched. There was a lot of hype around the first one, and I'm like, it's an all right one. Then the second one came out, and it's like, it's kind of garbage. Then the third one came out, and I'm like, you know what? I just got to finish the story.
Again, what possessed you to keep go? What made you go
I
to
just
the
said
first
I
one,
wanted
though?
to. There was hype behind it.
Why did you go the second time though?
Yeah,
There was a sequel.
if you didn't
No, I
like
mean-
the first movie.
No, I mean, why did
No,
you
I
go
liked the
twice
first
seeing the
one.
first movie?
Because Edward is that dreamy. That's why.
or
Batman now.
He's Batman now.
He
Yeah.
is Batman.
He went
yes.
from Vampire Bat to Batman.
that works.
He has experience in the role, but even there, you have these movies that have like
That have changed
that
the
have changed the
lore,
lore, right?
yeah.
Buffy did the same thing.
Exactly.
True Blood did the same thing. They changed the lore a little bit. Twilight changed the same thing. And in fairness, the Twilight audience isn't you, me, or Dave. Joe, me, or Dave. It's definitely Manny for some reason.
What about what's that one movie with Kate Beckinsale?
Oh yeah,
Underworld. Yeah.
Yeah, that
So
had werewolves too.
Underworld is one of those movies where you're just like, oh, this is kind of fun. Oh, they made a second one. Oh, they made a third one.
There's
they
a
made a fourth one.
There's like a bunch of them.
There's one
is a
without her.
franchise?
This is a whole franchise.
Direct to DVD
and
fifth one.
the only
Yeah.
good ones are the ones that she's in.
Yeah.
Well, she's
says a
in
lot
3
about-
of them, right? She-
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
in
Exactly.
3 out
Those
of
are the
the
She's in
ones
four.
3 out of the 4. But even though the girl who's in the 4th one's not bad. But yeah, she kind of carries those movies.
Those
Plus-
No,
are
she was in 1, 2, and 4.
Yeah, 1, 2,
Yeah,
and
the
4.
third
Even
one
you
was a
realize how
prequel.
much
Yeah.
of a good
Even
action
Blade
star she
kind
is.
of redid some of that.
Yeah, Blade did
Yeah,
the same
Blade.
They
thing.
changed, but like that's what I mean. Like with every single version of a vampire movie, right? They change something about it to fit their story, but then it's sort of depending on how popular it is, it sort of sticks with the lore of it, right?
Guys, I
Sun,
just
Light,
realized.
garlic.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are the vampire stories of our day. There's all these different versions of it. There are all these different versions of it. They always sort of loosely stick to the original concept of what it is, but then they go in completely different directions.
That's
Yeah.
true.
And
Yeah.
you still make them work because if you don't necessarily
you
have
can
to
flesh
stick.
it out any
Yeah,
way
you
you
can flesh it
want.
out
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
way you want to.
Yeah.
I don't think the turtles ever killed anyone and sucked their blood.
Well, you have not read any of the comics then,
Yeah.
because
They killed a lot of people in the comics.
That's
the
all they
original turtles are like an R-rated cartoon, R-rated comic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
They,
watered
like,
it
beheaded
down for children.
Shredder.
Hold on. Is it kind of like where they went with the Toxic Avenger, and then they made the Toxic Avenger cartoon?
Yeah, same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
but just the opposite.
No, the original comic book was like super violent.
Yeah, it was dark.
Oh, okay.
So dark it was in black and white. And then the cartoon is way different. Like this is why I laugh when like turtle movies come out and people are like, "Oh, it's not. It's they strayed away so much from what the cartoon used to be." Yeah, man.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
not the.
I would say like the very
You're
first.
that guy.
I'm admittedly one of those people.
No.
I'm sorry
the
about that.
very first the very first Ninja Turtles movie that came out in '91, like they dipped into the comic book
Yeah.
a little bit because like if you watch that movie as a kid, like it's pretty freaking dark.
Right.
Like just like how it was like portrayed and stuff like that, right?
Right.
So, but number 2 is like the more cartoony, happy, friendly.
Number 3, there's a scene where like April's like getting changed or something, and the Ninja Turtles
Did
are
you
like
say April
showing.
showers?
No, April is showering or getting
okay.
changed or something.
No, she's in the
lake or something.
Yeah, she's
and
in the
turtles
pond.
look at each other and they're like showing. I'm like, what the fuck?
No, she shortens like the skirt thing. Or
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But they're like showing, and I'm like,
Well, they are teenagers.
but they never
Looked at April that way.
until recently. And then they did
Yeah.
this has been Donnie April thing that's been going
Oh, yeah,
on.
and
Oh,
the
I don't know how I feel about that.
Oh, the
She goes for
2012
brains over brawn.
Damn
The
right.
the 2012 cartoon, like Donatello has a crush on her.
And even is the new one? No, the new one. The new one. They all look different, right?
Yeah. Where Raphael's the leader this time.
That seems like a bad decision. That's like when they had the X-Men, the Wolverine and the X-Men.
X-Men.
and
That was
Wolverine's
actually a
the leader.
good show, though.
But Wolverine being the leader is just not a right. He's not tactical enough. He's too emotional for this
It's like
shit.
putting me in the lead.
Yeah, this is why we don't let Joe make decisions.
It's funny you say that. It's funny you say that about Wolverine. Oh, he's too emotional. If you see like the first 2 episodes, like Cyclops is mad depressed. Like he goes through like a mega depression in the first few episodes.
This is rated Y7 for children.
He's like in a rundown apartment. He's like got a beard and stuff. He's just depressed.
It's just a live
So
look
he's
at James
current.
Marsden's real life.
Oh, that's
Has that guy ever been in a movie where he got the girl?
Who?
James Marsden.
Spike?
What?
Spike from Buffy?
No.
you know
James
who
Marsden's the
James
guy who
Marsden
plays
is?
Cyclops.
Oh. Who am I thinking? What's the
Yeah,
name? of it?
it's a Marsden as well, but I don't think it's
Yeah.
James Marsden.
Okay.
Anyways,
But yeah, he's never been in a movie, but he's like got the girl, I don't think.
so back to Manny's love of the 1930s horror movies. So the 30s were actually pretty big for horror movie, like the movie monster era.
Yeah.
So in 1931, both Dracula and Frankenstein were released.
What,
And then
the Spanish one.
what? What about the Spanish one? In the 1933,
Marsters is who you would think.
yes. And then in 1933, The Invisible Man comes out. And then 1935, they bring out The Bride of Frankenstein. The Wolfman doesn't show up till 1941, and then The Creature from the Black Lagoon is from 1954.
The blackest of lagoons.
The blackest of lagoons. And like 1939 had Son of Frankenstein. Frankenstein was huge. They made like 20 movies alone
Wow.
with the same actor, with what's his name, Boris Karloff playing.
Where's Carla?
Why do I feel like this is like an Elvis thing? You ever see like Elvis's filmography? I think in like 3 years span he made something like 16 movies or something.
But
They just kept shooting and they're like, do not even take off the makeup. We're
yeah,
just
pretty much.
gonna
Yeah.
keep the fucking film rolling.
I
it rolling.
I
Yeah.
would argue it's sort of the same for like these guys who play these monster movies, right? Like Boris Karloff, even Bela Lugosi. They just pumped out a bunch.
Yeah.
of these
Ron
movies.
Chaney Jr. He was the Wolfman on that one.
Yeah, they probably just have like the 20th movie of that is just all B-roll, just
But-
spliced together.
And then they had like Wolfman versus Dracula.
Yeah, then they
Wolfman
Yeah.
versus Franken- yeah.
But to go back to Boris Karloff, there is one character that I would argue.
Who does he
all
play,
of
sorry?
us- He
In
is
this?
Frankenstein.
Okay,
Right, and he also is the Mummy. But there's one character that I would say all of us know from childhood
right.
that he has voiced, and it's a Christmas thing that comes out pretty much every year, Christmas special.
Right.
He is the original Grinch.
Oh shit!
really?
Nice.
He is the original Grinch. So yeah,
They took some. I guarantee you, he did. Fucker loves playing green characters, eh?
that's about it. Yeah.
They probably was just like, don't even take off the makeup. Just come into the studio, voice it, get the fuck out of here.
Well, speaking of cartoons, has anyone seen the Batman versus Dracula?
Oh shit!
No, I haven't
No.
seen
That's
how's
actually
that?
that was actually surprisingly good. It was based off I think it was the 2000. I think the 2007 series that
Right.
came out, with that weird anime looking style, and apparently they bring in a coffin. They bring in they found a coffin in the sea or whatever, and they bring it over to Gotham, and then
Yeah, because that's never bad.
yeah, that's never bad. And then Adam West has a cameo in that movie too.
Fuck
He
yeah.
plays the mayor of Gotham, which is pretty funny.
The fuck, dude, he's supposed to be the mayor of Quahog.
Is he Mayor Adam West?
Yeah, well, no, he's not Mayor Adam West, but like he's the mayor of Gotham. But
Every time I think Adam West and Batman, I always think, that Simpson scene. The Batman. Why doesn't Batman dance anymore?
I didn't need molded rubber to improve my physique. Pure
West. But apparently, what was cool
R.I.P.
about that?
Adam
Remember the
West.
Bat 2C?
What was cool about that movie? The Penguin discovers the coffin, and then Dracula comes out of it, and then Dracula makes Penguin like his servant.
You're right.
And then throughout the movie, Dracula actually like turns Joker into a vampire, which is probably like the creepiest
That is.
scene ever. Like Batman goes into the blood bank and it's just all in black and white.
Yeah.
And like now that Joker has like vampire powers, he's like crawling on the walls like a freaking cockroach. It was
Oh, no.
creepy. Yeah.
Otherwise known as the inspiration for Jared Leto.
Oh, so I
But
got.
did he? Wait, hold on. I just want to know. Did Batman have to use a gun?
no.
Because fucker doesn't use guns.
No, he didn't
He'll use
gun.
a plane to shoot down buildings, but he won't use a gun.
Sound about right. Where does he get such wonderful toys?
Here's a fun fact for you guys.
Oh, no.
Abbott and Costello actually did a movie where they meet the mummy.
And Frankenstein.
Yeah.
all those guys, even Laurel
Yeah.
and Hardy had the same sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to be honest. The first time I've ever seen anything Frankenstein-esque was watching, like, reruns of The Munsters.
Yeah, I had Monsters and
With Herman.
Gravedale High.
With Herman Munster. And I just loved it because he was so... Herman Munster was anything but, like, vicious, obviously. He was
The
such
Monsters
a
were
nice...
fucking
I
bomb,
loved
man.
that
I loved that show.
I love that show, yeah.
So, in the Addams Family, so the
Dun-dun-dun-dun.
but
Da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da.
Dave just dabbed.
This fucking, if this episode gets taken down for copyright,
We're screwed.
No, I think that's in public domain, actually.
no, it's not.
No.
So-
There's a movie out right now.
Exactly. And there's no way.
So, Addams Family was kind of a parody on those those monsters.
So is
Because
the
it was-
Munsters.
Addams Family was a TV show.
Yeah,
way
'cause-
back
and
when.
so was the
yeah. And so was the
Munsters.
Monsters.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember here. So it was he was obviously Frankenstein's monster. Morticia was a vampire.
Right.
Pugsley was a wolf man in a way. What was the,
No,
the
you're
grand-
thinking of the Munsters.
Yeah.
Am I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very much so.
Yeah.
You're thinking of the Munsters.
Because Addams Family,
They're
what's his
just a
name?
creepy family.
Yeah, they're
They were
just a
just
creepy
creepy.
route.
They're just
Like
a
Raul
creepy
Julia was not fucking.
So they're creepy and they're kooky, but they're altogether spooky.
And John Astin was the original Gomez from the...
M. Bison,
Old-
Raul Julia?
Yeah, man, that's his last movie.
I
That
know.
Oh no,
Street Fighter was
Street
his
Fighter
last-
was his last movie.
Yeah.
but I hate
guy
when
was-
actors die on bad movies.
It's a
But the
shame.
thing was, while
Bad
he was
movie?
filming that movie, he was literally dying. Like
Yeah.
he had to go to a hospital, and they're like,
Yeah.
"No, keep filming." It's
No,
like,
No,
we can't go today. Today is a
I
Tuesday.
think Raul,
But I have so
sorry, I think Raul Julia is too much of a pro to have just went to the hospital.
The man was dying though. Like
Did he win Oscars and stuff?
I don't know if he ever won an Oscar, but he
think
was
he
just a
did.
fucking. We can check.
Yeah,
look it up.
Yeah.
I'm about to. So sorry.
Okay.
continue.
Okay. So, any other movies, Manny, you were really into?
Well, it wouldn't be right if I didn't mention that while they were filming the 1930s Dracula, in the evening they were filming the Spanish version of it, Dracula. It actually has the accent on there. I'm serious. So
Why
then-
wouldn't
I feel
it be
like you-
right?
Yeah, I feel like you could have skipped that. No, nobody would have had a problem.
Yeah,
but that's an awesome fact.
Okay.
okay.
So,
enough.
Fair enough. Yeah.
what was the last horror movie that you guys watched and it actually scared you? Like, I'll start.
The Postman.
With Kevin Costner.
Kevin Costner.
Okay.
That is pretty freaky.
I was like, there's still mail in the year 2000?
I have a concept. Let's not kill each other. Hey, that's a good idea. That's a hell of an idea. And then that postman became Tin Cup.
I think last horror movie I saw was Get Out.
Get
And I
out.
wanted to watch Us, but I've not gotten around to it. But yeah,
And that's borderline just a suspense movie. It's not even
Nah.
like
it's a
in that-
suspense movie if you wait. Shit's real. Shit's fucking scary if you're dark.
I think
Actually,
I'm
and
outnumbered
to that point, Black Mirror. Black Mirror is fucking. Some of the episodes of Black Mirror scare the shit out of me because of how easily it could happen.
Yeah.
Did you watch? Did
Yeah.
you do the whole Bandersnatch?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did all that. But like actual Black Mirror episodes, like there's an episode of Black Mirror season 4, I think. The first episode with Ron Howard's daughter, Bryce Howard. And it's all about like when you meet people, you rate them. Like an Uber rating or whatever.
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
I had
But if-
someone explain that to me.
But if your rating drops at a certain point, then people don't like deal with you. So you have to you have to be really good to have this thing. That's actually happening in a state in China.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that shit is actually
Because I
happening.
had a friend explain to me about that episode in Black Mirror, and he was like saying like, oh, when you block someone and they come and talk to you, it's just you just hear like this muffling.
Yeah, I like peanuts.
Oh,
Like
yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So back to Raul Julia. Sorry to change things up. I know you guys asked. He's won a Golden Globe.
Right.
He was nominated like 4 times. He's won once. He has a Primetime Emmy, Academy of Science Fiction and Fantasy. He's been nominated twice. He has a Cable Ace Award, and also the Los Angeles Latino International Film Festival. He's an award for lifetime achievement, obviously given to him posthumously.
Oh.
And yeah, he does not actually
No
have
Oscar.
he's got a Screen Actors Guild Award, but he has no actual Oscar.
So-
Okay.
man.
But he's still he's a still very decorated actor.
How the fuck did he end up doing M. Bison?
Dude, look at all the people in that movie. How did anybody end up doing that Bison?
Yeah.
Money talks, man.
Street Fighter was fucking massive at that point.
Money
Yeah.
talks. They
And
threw
you had
a
Jean-Claude
lot of money
Van
at a
Damme
lot of
playing an
people.
American?
And, yeah,
Yeah.
Jean-Claude Van Damme was at the height of his popularity.
Kylie Minogue's in that movie too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Oh no.
Come on. Look,
That was
we're all
inappropriate.
pro Kylie Minogue here, but
Yeah.
like, can you chill?
Yeah.
That's not even the sexiest role Kylie Minogue has ever
That's
played.
true. It's not.
They did not put her in that outfit.
Wait, what is the sexiest role she's been in?
Anything else?
Her
All her music videos.
Yeah.
Asian,
Any of her music.
any of her
videos.
music videos. Her there's a thing where she's like in a lingerie commercial and she's on a fucking this is now all about me. This is
I'm gonna have
she's
to
on
look
a
this up.
she's on a mechanical bull. It's good.
All right, I'm gonna have
Nice.
to look that up. Continue.
No, not after that.
Yeah. Okay, what's the last horror movie you watched?
I honestly rewatched the Bram Stoker Dracula recently, and I still love that movie. But as far as new movie, I would say it was Get Out.
Get Out. I want to watch Us. I haven't seen Us yet.
I haven't
really
seen
good.
it either, so I'll watch it with you.
Cool.
We'll make a day out of it.
I do remember. Was it
Guys that get
you
popcorn
or
and
Tash that we were
Twizzlers.
convincing to go?
Tash
see
has not
Get
seen
Out?
it. Yeah, we tried to get
It was,
Tash to see it.
Yeah, it was trying to get Tash to see it. I still haven't seen Get Out either, so like I need to.
Dude,
get
I'd be
on
down to
that.
watch Get Out again. Me and producer Brock, we may see Brock, went and saw, we went and saw, sorry, not Black Mirror, Get Out together. And it was the funniest thing because there was this like little crew of black people, like crew of black kids sitting in the corner. And they were just like, every time the first scene in the movie, she's like, oh, we should go visit my parents. And he's like, you crazy! It's a trap! And every time they did something, they'd just be like adding this little commentary to it. It was fucking amazing.
Watch it Get Out with black people.
Yeah. Like, motherfucker, you crazy!
Pretty sure at the end of the movie, you hear one of them say, "This is why I don't date white bitches."
At the end of the movie, something happens, and these guys fucking started cheering. Like, it was so good.
Probably
No,
when
dude, we should watch it together because I
Yeah.
think you'd like it.
fuck.
But Dave's not. I don't think Dave's the type to yell at the screen. I've watched movies with you before, and you don't.
Also, when it's an action film, I yell at the
Yeah.
screen.
I've made more comments at the movies than you.
Here's
That
a
time with Thor.
Oh yeah,
here's a throwback story.
Oh, no.
One time, Dwen, myself,
Oh,
and
fuck
another
off.
friend went to go watch White Noise. and it's supposed to be a horror.
Do you remember White Noise?
Is that the one with
It's Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
And
I
he's-
never saw it.
Yeah, you're fine. Don't worry about it.
I haven't.
It's
I've-
that bad?
I've saved myself.
So this movie starts off, and it's like, I'm taking this over from you because, yeah, you fucking. I mean, maybe it's a good movie. I don't know.
Did Manny like it?
It's supposed to be a
Here's the thing.
horror, by
It's
the
supposed
way.
to be a horror movie. It's supposed to be this. From what I remember of the story, is he's hearing this white noise in like the radio, and he's trying to communicate with somebody who was something.
Right.
Or maybe I'm thinking of frequency. I'm not entirely sure. But like in the opening scene, it's Michael Keaton, his kid, his wife in a kitchen, and Manny turns around. This is like the opening 3 minutes maybe of the movie, and Manny turns around to me and he goes, "Is this fucking Multiplicity?" The whole movie after that, he's like, why doesn't he just get one of the clones to do it? Why is it the whole 90 minutes after that, all he can see is Multiplicity? That's what it is. His kid dies and he can hear his kid talking through the white noise.
yeah.
He just
All
went
right.
on.
Not we. There was no we.
I believe that more than
Fucker
you.
just kept talking about fucking Multiplicity the whole movie.
We were upsetting
Please
people
tell me
around
Andy
us.
McDowell was in White Noise as well, because that would have been perfect.
Oh my
I
god.
don't know. I don't remember that movie.
Yeah. Oh god. Okay, so Dave, what last horror movie you saw?
Last horror movie I saw was Unfriended, and that was on TV. Well, I had the movie network on my bell box,
Right.
so it was on randomly. I'm like, oh, I heard about this movie. Let me check it out. And I say it's a bad movie, but the concept idea was good, just executed poorly in my opinion. Right? Because on top of that too, there was a lot of product placement. Because like
Is it Facebook movie? Like, is there a lot of Facebook in it?
yeah, there's because like you're
Facebook,
seeing like this
Netflix.
girl's computer screen, right? And yeah, she's like on Skype. You see her use Gmail and all that other stuff. Of course, she's using a Mac.
Yeah.
it's a Hollywood movie, right?
Of course.
But it does talk about like the issue at the time, like when bullying was like anti-bullying was like huge, because like a lot of kids was like committing suicide at that time.
Right.
That's the true
So-
horror story.
Well, yeah. So like, apparently the girl, she was like at a party. She gets drunk, and they record her doing like all this like stupid crap, and then like they uploaded it on like Facebook and stuff without her knowing, and everyone's like making fun of her, calling her a slut and all this other stuff. And then
Right.
later she committed suicide. So then like a year later, like all the friends who went to that party, they got together on Skype, and then she happens to pop up on Skype as an unknown, and she haunts them through social media. And the funny thing
Couldn't
was
they
like,
just block her? Just block this unknown account?
yeah, but that's the thing. When they tried
Problem
that, she
solved.
will kill them, right? So that was the point,
Right.
right? So like the thing was that
Mute the account. Problem solved.
but like the thing was she wasn't talking like through Skype. She was like typing, right?
Mute.
Mute.
No, well, that option
Ignore
wasn't
your-
available. Then.
So
Change
like
your login
But
credentials.
the thing is too, like, because they gave the character like a Facebook account and everything, and during the movie, I'm like, I wonder if this Facebook account is real. And so I looked it up. It was real.
Oh shit.
It was real, and it was so funny because like a lot of people thought it was real, because like people were just like, oh, don't make fun of her, like. This
Yeah,
person
yeah, yeah.
actually committed suicide. What's wrong with you? And then you see a whole bunch of other messages like, this was like for a movie, right?
Those are probably people, plants that did that shit.
Yeah.
Last horror movie I saw
Yeah.
that
Because you see a lot more movies than we do. So
that gave me a legitimate jolt was Cabin in the Woods.
Cabin in the Woods was a good flick. I really liked it.
Was that the one where like,
This is a Joss Whedon one.
yeah,
where-
and they find out it's like a simulation or anything?
Yes.
No,
It's
they have to die, and then they have all these like demonic beings at the bottom, like
it's the idea of like they have to sacrifice stuff so that the apocalypse doesn't happen, but it's more like technology based in the end.
okay.
yeah,
Like I liked it. I really liked it. I think what it was is because it's kind of a low budget film.
yeah.
Because I think Joss Whedon said they shot that like over a weekend or 2 weekends.
Oh, wow.
Something. And it was real because it was very low budgety. That the like CGI at the end kind of took me out of it a little bit.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to remember the end. Was it where like
The giant hand comes out.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of people theorize that movie is the prequel to Attack on Titan. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like what's cool about like the horror movie genre, at least all those like movies, are one, you can take those old stories from the 30s and remake them in the 70s and the 80s and 90s, or fucking make them into TV shows or whatever.
As seen as Vampire in Brooklyn.
Well, but that's the thing, right? Vampires, Frankenstein's True Blood.
Has
all
there been
those-
any Frankenstein remakes?
well, you know
there
what?
was one in the 90s.
I think Robert De Niro's played Frankenstein once.
There was like one in the. I remember
He
there was
looks
like a
like
remake in the
Frankenstein.
90s.
I think the other thing is there's other versions of Frankenstein not called Frankenstein.
Oh, I Frankenstein, where it was like a freaking action movie.
That was not good.
I don't even remember.
I saw
I
that on
watched
TV.
it.
Are you
I saw
sure
that on
that's
TV
not an
as well.
SCTV
It
bit?
was, it was played by Aaron Eckhart,
Yeah.
and
Two-Face?
yeah, Two-Face himself. But I'm not gonna lie, Aaron Eckhart is not a bad actor. It's
Not
just
at all.
The
The concept, the idea.
The concept was cool too. I mean, like Frankenstein's monster is this sort of hero,
Badass guy, yeah.
badass hunting other monsters and otherworldly things, right? But they do a bad job of explaining how he's, managed to catch up his mind to what he should be.
Yeah.
Basically, in that version, Aaron Eckhart is the vision of what Dr. Frankenstein actually had for his creature.
Right.
Right?
Friend?
No, much more developed, much more enhanced. He was like,
Would you like to be my friend?
he was a much more perfect sort of version of it.
fucking-
He was like the perfect soldier.
He took a grammar class.
Exactly. They didn't explain
This
how
time-
he becomes so
Yeah.
Perfect.
perfect, and then
Dr. Frankenstein didn't use my grammar for this.
Yeah,
monster.
Grammarly. He didn't
and
use
then what was it,
Grammarly.
like Bill Nye or whatever. I have no idea how they explain. Not the science guy, the other guy, the actor.
Oh, yeah, Bill Nighy.
Yeah. Anyways, they didn't really explain how he's like the villain in any way. It was
I think-
poorly executed.
I think what ends up happening is you get these movies. So one, you get these movies that everyone knows the story of, right? So if you want to make like a new movie, you have to make a twist because people are going to be like, "Well, I already know the story of like Dr. Frankenstein."
Exactly.
Or,
That's why you get-
Batman or whatever. So you make a twist, but then the twist has to actually make sense. Otherwise, they're just shitty movies.
Are you bashing Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter?
First of all, amazing book, terrible thing. Same with Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. But like no, but I mean like Invisible Man, right? Like Kevin
Bacon?
There we go. His Invisible Man, like that. The story is fine. Like the story of Invisible Man is awesome because like it's a sort of morality play. But it just doesn't work in this. Like you just look at it and you're like, okay. Well, first of all, why do I not want to see Kevin Bacon on my screen? Kevin Bacon should always be on the screen dancing.
So back to Frankenstein.
For all we know, he did a
Look at
footloose.
this. There's actually a remake of The Bride of Frankenstein coming out where Javier Bardem is going to be Frankenstein.
I thought he was
Well, I
going to be
think.
the bride.
Well, here's the thing. I think a lot of these movies are coming out again because they were going to create a dark universe
Yes,
film, right?
yeah,
That's
see-
what the Tom Cruise Mummy was supposed
Well,
to be.
the company credits the first one is Dark Universe.
Yeah.
Right. So Universal is trying hard to keep this going.
Well, they just do what DC
They're-
does, right?
Yeah, they're coming out with an Invisible Man next year.
Okay.
2021 is going to be Bride of Frankenstein. They've just announced that they're coming out with a not yet titled Dracula film.
It's going to be called
Untitled
Dracula.
Untitled
2022.
Frankenstein. Untitled Phantom of. Oh wow, they're going to redo the Hunchback of Notre Dame, which I don't understand how that works into a dark universe, but that'd be interesting.
He got a job.
He always had a job.
He got back surgery.
Maybe I don't know.
Would the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure anime count as a vampire story? Even though the
don't
first
know much
one-
about it.
Yes, it
I-
would.
Yeah, I
Even
don't know
though the
enough
first-
about it. Yeah.
What is it
first
about it? What
Well,
is it
like
about?
there's like three parts. The first part called Phantom Blood, where Jonathan Joestar in 1889 fights a human turned vampire named Dio Brando. So like the way how they turn into vampires in this story is there's like this ancient stone mask, and whoever wears it and puts blood on the mask, like these like spikes come out of it, and it launches into your brain and gives you like all these like vampiric powers and stuff like that. And they don't bite their victims; like they stick their finger in them and they drain blood that way, which is
Because
kind of
anime.
creepy, kind of really creepy. And it lasts out through like 3 parts, and then it becomes like a Scooby-Doo mystery.
There's another thing actually that goes after all these Universal Scooby-Doo.
Yeah,
so
Scooby-Doo-
many of
yeah.
those.
He's been doing it for years.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear the Scooby-Doo theory?
No, there's a
no.
Scooby-Doo theory.
There is
Manny
that
film theory.
Scooby. No, it's not mine. There's a theory that
Yet.
Scooby-Doo exists in a world of economic collapse. That's why, like, all these obviously
the 70s?
talented. Jesus.
Now, I mean,
Now, yeah, but no, that's the theory.
any era in history except for the 20s and the 50s. But
So-
anyways, continue.
No. So that's the theory that it takes place in a world of economic collapse, where like all these highly talented people, like VFX magicians, bankers, all that stuff. They all need to like resort to petty crime to make some money.
Oh, so current times.
Current time.
Next year.
I know.
Yes, last year.
Joe, we cannot do a full Halloween episode talking about horror without talking
Movies?
about Treehouse of Horror.
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 I thought this was about movies.
No,
Yeah,
I know,
man.
but they dip into a lot of movies as well. Like they parody.
That's any Simpsons episode, though. I mean, that's what the Simpsons do.
Yeah, they just parody everything. They parody pop culture. So.
Exactly. I mean, if you sorry to mention another podcast, but if you listen to Unspooled, one of their bits is, did the Simpsons use this on their show?
Yeah.
For any movie they do on the top 100 AFI list.
Oh.
So, yeah, I mean, that's the last thing they do with the show. So, does the Simpsons rip this off? And most often the answer is yes.
Yeah. There's. I think those like the nice thing about this is like it's interesting because Manny talking about like movies from the I gave you shit about it before, but like there's movies from the 30s. These movies are all from the 30s. Probably most of us have not seen them, but you have an idea. Like they've really like lasted into what like people know about these stories.
Well,
You've
they've
never
come, like you said, they're so ingrained in our pop culture
Yeah.
in so many ways, right? I mean, with all of these characters, you can sort of spin them a different way, so they're not technically called Frankenstein or they're not technically called Dracula, but these are the starting points.
Yeah.
I mean,
Frankenberry, Count Chocula.
Blueberries. But even these
The Count.
these characters are now into children's characters. I mean, Frankenweenie, for example.
yeah.
Right? The Count.
The
is
Count.
Oh,
another
that
perfect
bite is
example
gonna
of it.
hurt from Frankenweenie.
But like and that's the thing. Like they've lasted for so long, and they've sort of
Whoop.
they're sort of like part of pop culture. They're so part of pop culture that you can just like we over here in like all the things that we've read, we're not 100% sure if Universal actually owns them or not. And
I think they do own most of the rights to a
Yeah.
lot of them because they're the original creators of the movies or whatever.
But-
again,
but
it's
other
all-
people
if
have
you
used them
base-
too, right?
Yeah.
But if you base a movie, okay, so the original Dracula book, that is in the public domain, along with Van Helsing and Quincy
Van Helsing's obviously
and
a
Quincy
character from
Morris,
that, yeah.
right? So those are all in the public domain. So what's stopping someone from making a Dracula movie? And that's
Nothing
it.
really. People
Because-
have been doing it for
nothing,
years.
yeah.
Because that's how Castlevania kind of is. Because Castlevania is the Draculas, but they included the Morris family at some point.
But here's the thing, though, like characters like vampires specifically are obviously public domain because you can spin a whole vampire story out of anything.
Well, the villain in Castlevania is Dracula.
So there you go. I mean, you can still use it. I mean, the character, the name of Dracula is obviously public domain because
Yeah.
it's been in our literary history now for God knows how long.
But what about his deception of him being, so the character Dracula is a vampire, which can be used by any medium. But at what point would Universal come down your ass? Right?
It's probably a likeness or catchphrase or
Yeah.
some sort of like the cape or something. There's something that's
Or-
unique
or-
to that character that they can't
Blah!
take.
right? So
Yeah, yeah. There's something unique to that
Right.
character.
You know, the last time Bela Lugosi wore that cape was in an Ed Wood film.
Oh, you've been dropping this
I-
nugget of fact on us for
Yeah.
me at least for the past week.
So I have a question for you. We sort of have like the last 10 minutes of this show left,
just
so we'll
about.
go over this.
Yeah.
Okay, so we consider these movies cinema, right? They're
In some
considered
regards,
classic
yes.
cinema,
Yeah, okay.
right? They're all classics. They're all classic cinema. You would also, seeing as how many movies there were at the time, Joe said like the Frankenstein movies, there were about 20 at
Are you
one point.
making a comment on
Yeah, well,
on a director's
I'm
recent
getting through.
statement?
Well, I'm going through it, right?
Yeah.
So you would think that in a time of the 30s, where there were movies like Gone with the Wind and whatever that were like Oscar bait movies, these would have been the sort of Marvel cinematic universes
what
of
are
the
you
time.
giggling about, Manny? Because you're sitting there giggling your ass off.
Just thinking at the end of
Okay, it's not that important.
It's a
Go on.
Simpsons
Continue,
thing for
Dre.
sure.
no, it's at the end of Bogart when they're in the fog. Just Dracula shows up and finishes the movie.
Oh, Casablanca.
yeah.
That would be an interesting end to that movie. I'm
That
not
was
gonna
the
lie.
twist.
That movie was amazing, but still.
I like how you were just like, oh, you sort of a dumb idea. Now you're all in. No, but okay. So you would like these monster movies would have been the fantasy movies of their time. In
Yes.
some respects, the superhero movies of their time.
Very much so.
Right? They're considered cinema. So how is it that the Marvel movies now are despicable and not cinema when these are considered classics?
Because they didn't have Amos and Andy.
We just have to wait like another 50 years or something.
Again, I think.
Although
but
Key
yeah,
and Peele
it's-
are in Toy Story 4.
but I mean, that's obviously in regards to the comments made by
Martin
Martin
Scorsese
Scorsese and Francis Ford Coppola.
yeah.
Who I'm
Like-
more on like with what Scorsese is saying. It's I think what he's trying to get across, and I can't believe I'm defending him, but in the sense that it's not like he has this belief that cinema has to make you sort of think or feel an emotion or whatever. These are nothing but popcorn fun type of movies now.
Dude.
But
Mr.
but I
Stark,
guess-
Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good has fucking resonated with so many people.
I get
Right?
it though, but it's just I think it's also part due to the fact that, you know, I think it comes from a place of jealousy, especially with these two guys.
I think I know where you're coming from with that, because like what can you say like when spaghetti westerns was like a big thing
Yeah.
too, right?
Exactly.
Like my
It's
dad
just-
was like obsessed with.
My dad too. My dad loved
spaghetti-
all of the Sergio Leone movies,
Yeah.
right? He loved those spaghetti
So like
westerns.
you think like people who made like the monster movies in the 30s were saying like, oh, spaghetti westerns are terrible and blah blah blah.
But that's exactly what it is. And you know, the people that were coming out with movies beforehand were probably shitting on monster movies. It's just
No, because a lot of people say that like the Marvel movies that came out, they say like it's like the spaghetti western era. Like it's just everybody wants superhero films.
yeah, it is what it is.
but it is
right
getting
now.
a little too saturated.
But
again,
no, but
it's been saturated by the same studio. Think about it. Everybody's watching these superhero movies. I mean, the most recent, if you can call it a superhero movie, is the Joker, and
yeah,
that has nothing.
that's a
to
comic book movie. It's not a superhero.
Exactly, and that is completely different. That can be considered cinema, but it's also pretty much
A comic book film.
it's a beat for beat ripoff of Taxi Driver.
But that's what I mean though.
That's
like,
not to say I didn't like the movie. It's just a beat for beat ripoff.
right? It's just
Which I think Todd Phillips is doing on purpose, though. That's his own choice.
yeah. Well, you know,
I'm dancing here.
I think
First off, that's Midnight Cowboy. But I like where you're going.
yeah, I think it's just. I mean, look, I'm a fan of the Marvel movies. I think when he says MCU, he means comic book movies.
I
don't
think that's
he-
what he's leaning towards. But
But like,
Marvel comes out with the most of them.
obviously, they're but
Yes.
they've.
But Marvel had a vision though. Like,
Yeah,
we can't,
exactly.
We can't stop them with their vision because
No,
like,
you can't stop Marvel
No,
now.
like I said,
like,
I think
but no,
it's-
but like what I'm saying is like they had a vision like when they started this back with Iron Man 1. They said if this works, then here's the rest of the ideas that we had. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. Right? So it just It just happened to be so popular, and like no other like movie franchise was doing what Marvel was doing back in 2008. Like no one sat there and said, "Oh, we got like 10 plus years of movies that we all want to interconnect together."
Yeah,
right. And this was like the first type of franchise where like you had to watch every single movie to understand what's going on.
Dark Knight would have been a lot different if that was kind of the case.
Well, no, but
if there was that type of thinking when the Dark Knight came out.
Well, Dark Knight was always going to be a trilogy on its own. Like
that was the plan.
If you ever watch a lot of DC cartoons too, they're not the movies now, but like back when we were kids, you know, Batman stayed within his realm. Every once in a while, Superman would show up or whatever. But if you watch like Marvel cartoons, they would always have weird crossovers and things where people come around.
Yeah, even in the X-Men, there was always like, oh, and here's the Fantastic Four.
Right.
Or here's Spider-Man.
Yeah, they'd always just sort of show up. Even prior to like the 90s X-Men, like the old like
well, even in the comics it happened more so. It wasn't until recently you'd argue with like, you know, I mean the first version of it was Justice League or Super Friends or whatever.
Yeah. No, but what I mean was like Justice League, Super Friends, those cartoons, they were special. Like, oh, this is the first time you're going to see all these guys together.
Own universe had nothing to do
in Marvel stuff, you'd always have these guys like popping up.
They jump into each other.
Well, yeah, it was like that. It was huge. Like when the Spider-Man cartoon came out, and then like they announced that like, oh, Spider-Man is going to team up with the X-Men, right, and like that was huge. Like it's like, oh snap, the X-Men.
But that's the thing. So you know, just sort of taking it back to these movies now, like Marvel had a plan. So you can see, like Dave said, in 2008, Iron Man came out. They're like, let's see how this goes. If those goes well, we have a plan for like these other movies. What you're seeing now with like Dark Universe and, you know, DC sort of course corrected is they don't want to do the work. You know, they're just like, okay, all these heroes already know each other. We're good, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what threw me. And that's what threw me off with Justice League, because I assumed that like DC would do the same thing.
Yeah, the slow build.
Yeah, the slow build. But it's just like, all right, Justice League. Wait, what? Like,
we don't got time for this.
And I think like that's where sort of the insulting part comes from Martin Scorsese and Francis Ford Coppola. Is like, there's been work put into this.
But here's my argument though. Like basically what they're saying and all that stuff. But those two specifically pumped out gangster movies.
You know what?
The gangster cinematic universe.
Arguably the most authentic versions of those type of movies.
Right.
But
did one of them do The Untouchables? If the answer is no, then it's not. Then it's not properly depicted. But like, he did do Boardwalk Empire, Scorsese.
Yeah, Scorsese did that.
I think he's more of just a producer on that, though.
And
So but I mean, again, going back, just sort of, I just wanted to talk about that because that was in the news. But like, just these movies, these Marvel movies now are sort of like these horror movies from the monster movies. I don't even think they were horror movies really, but
and
monster movies.
Sorry, The Untouchables was Brian De Palma, and he's a friend of those two guys.
Yeah.
So,
but like, I mean, you know,
superstar Kevin Costner.
These movies, these horror movies, they've lasted a long time because you may not consider them quote unquote cinema, but they touched you in some way, right?
But in a certain argument too, what both Scorsese and Francis Ford Coppola are kind of shitting on George Lucas's work too, in a way. Right. If you think about it.
Yeah.
Because it's the same sort of deal. It's this extended, gigantic universe, you know, with Star Wars.
Yeah.
And, you know...
Which includes a terrible Christmas special, but we're not going to talk about it.
You mean the greatest Christmas special. But, I mean, like, you know, go looking at that, you know, originally George Lucas wanted to make 3 movies, or just the 1 movie, and it was massive. Then he made, you know... 2 more, and then years later he's like, hey, let me tell the other part of this story.
Right.
So he made another 3, and now he sold his property, but he's obviously still getting some sort of residuals from it.
Yeah.
And now they're making a ton more Star Wars
so
movies.
Pretty much what you're saying is like the first, like usually like when they first come out with it, that's where like they put all the love and art and stuff into it, and then after that it becomes like...
I wouldn't say that though, because specifically with George Lucas, You see the love even in the newer trilogy, but it turns out to be somewhat of a cash grab. It could be argued.
Well, Return of the Jedi is supposedly the best out of the 3, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not. I say this.
I think Brock's coming downstairs.
No. I say this. I say this not being a Star Wars person.
Return of the Jedi, or like, are you talking about the original trilogy?
The original trilogy.
The original trilogy. Yeah.
I think Empire Strikes Back is considered.
Yeah. As a movie,
Which one's Empire Strikes Back? Is that the second one?
yeah.
Sorry, that's what I meant.
Yeah,
that's what I meant.
As a movie,
Yeah.
it's so much more well done. But the other argument too, and I can't remember if he directed Jedi or not.
Yeah.
But with Empire, I think because George Lucas was so busy, he's like, okay, we're going to hire a different director
Right.
on this. But he was still very hands-on and very hard working on it, obviously. But, you know, this director had a very different vision. It's actually a much darker film compared to the other two.
Right.
And it works so well.
Yeah.
Right?
But that's the second one, right? So the
Yes.
love and the art and everything went into the first one. And first one's all about world building and all this. Like, you can't have these movies without the first one, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But he's done, they put the same amount of love into the second one.
Right.
Right? And yeah, I think like I don't know, man. You can't call you can't.
I
don't
get what
know.
you're saying. I totally get it, and it's just a part of me just thinks it's almost weirdly enough from a place of just like, okay, why the fuck are these movies getting so well received? And you know, I struggle to get a Best Director nod.
Yeah.
But if you're Scorsese, fuck you. You get a Best Director. You put your name on anything, and you get a Best Director nod. Like,
Okay, so
Oh, right,
do you
no,
think that Scorsese
he's only got
just-
the one win, and
think-
arguably, out of all the movies of his I've seen, the one he's won for
what do you
is
win
his,
for?
Departed.
Departed is a fucking amazing.
I'm not
movie.
saying that, but
Are you a cop?
settle down there,
but you know,
Quimby.
I mean, look at like Raging Bull. You know,
Were they the best
Goodfellas.
movies that year, though?
That's the problem.
That's the thing, right?
right.
So-
They weren't the best movies that year, and you know, that's what it was. But they all came out in years of like really strong movie years. Even
Yeah.
The Departed came out in a strong year.
Yeah.
Even Gangs of New York came out in a strong year. It's just.
Departed is
Okay,
actually
so is Coppola wait?
That-
Okay.
Okay, but just
in
about the-
my argument, I think Departed is the weakest of his movies.
Departed is really the Avengers of his movies because all the actors that he loves working with end
Yeah.
up coming into one movie to do it together,
Exactly.
and it's full of fucking Easter eggs. So like,
think
yeah,
tons.
Do you think Coppola and Scorsese are they just waiting for a big paycheck from like So like if Marvel shows up to their door and they're like, "We want you to direct Frankencastle the movie, right? Okay, we want you to do it. Here's an unlimited budget."
Yeah, but then those. But see,
Mickey Mouse shows up to
But-
give him the check.
But Coppola's already done his horror movie. He's done Dracula. He's the one who directed Bram Stoker's Dracula. He's already done his horror movie. All right? So
Is he gonna
whatever.
do?
I don't think he'll do a superhero movie.
Frankencastle?
But that being said, Francis Ford Coppola is also the guy that said he'd never do a sequel to The Godfather.
True.
Part 2.
Do you think?
good thing he's staying.
Part one, he's like, yeah, I'll do a sequel to The Godfather if it's Abbott and Costello meet The Godfather. And then 3 years later, guess what?
Abbott and Costello?
No,
were in it.
not even. The friggin' The Godfather Part 2 comes out, right? So it's like,
How much money do you?
it's
have?
like F you guys, because you just jumped on, it's obvious in your careers you've jumped on big money things. Too.
Yeah.
So they need to relax on that. But, you know.
So to tie this episode together, who, since we talked about some directors, horror movies, and franchises, if they were to make a Marvel Zombies movie,
Right.
who do you think they would get to direct that? Like, think of like
Nick Frost.
George Romero.
George Romero.
Nick Frost
don't
arguably
even
made
know, like,
one of my favorite
Jordan
zombie
Peele?
movies. There you go. There you go. Nick
Maybe?
Frost.
Who do you think? He said Jordan Peele.
Huh? I was actually going to say the same thing.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
That's it.
There you go. Nick Frost arguably made Shaun of the Dead, and that's arguably my favorite zombie movie ever. And it's
so
got
good.
all the same sensibilities as a Marvel movie, and it also is in a universe. Works in a Cornetto universe. So there you go.
That's right. Yeah.
Because some of those Shaun of the Dead movies are tied in, right?
There's only one John in the movie, and they're all tied in.
Like Hot
It was
Fuzz.
Hot Fuzz, and what was the third one again?
End of the world.
And
End of the World, yeah. At World's End, sorry.
well, at World's End, yeah, it was
the,
the name of the
last
bar.
one, yeah. And on that note,
Yeah.
I think we've
We've overrun our time.
we've
snap.
come to the end of the show, guys.
Dave, thank you for joining us.
We really
thanks for
appreciate
having me.
you coming.
It was a great time, Dave.
Yeah. If you're free next week, come down. If Tash isn't available, Tash, we miss you.
Come home, Tash.
Come home,
you came home
Tash.
for a little
Oh,
bit.
no, wait, I'll
She's
be-
been busy. She's
Oh, I'll
had
be in
other stuff
Detroit,
going on. So,
next
oh, you're in
Sunday,
Detroit
yeah.
next week, so you're two good friends. Okay,
Detroit Rock City.
Manny's excited for your trip.
Apparently.
More excited than you are.
He did ask to come with.
All right. And, that's true. And for the No Inner Monologue podcast, I'm Joey Mangione,
cool. Dwayne Nerona.
the creepiest of uncles.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. And please...
Don't choose combo number 5.
This episode of the No Inner Monologue was brought to you by...
How's it going, everyone? Jesus here, aka Tyrant Dominus, the host of the Convoluted Podcast, where I get a chance to talk with people from around the world and from my own backyard about the things they love, careers they have, hobbies they enjoy, projects they're working on, and along the way, they tell us some wacky stories, and we get to play some games. Join us on the Convoluted Podcast, everywhere podcasts can be found.